My husband is taken in a time-traveling woman who possesses the ability to foresee the future, yet is as foolish as a pig. After entering the household, she spends each day either causing calamities or on the verge of doing so. As the head matriarch, I vigilantly guard against her, fearing that her foolishness might bring ruin upon the entire family. My husband and mother-in-law neglect household affairs, yet they consistently favor the concubine, claiming her innate simplicity makes her a blessing to the family. They further assert that my profound thoughts stem from jealousy, accusing me of deliberately making things difficult for her. They have condemned me for the sin of jealousy, punishing me to kneel in the ancestral hall, where I must transcribe the teachings of virtuous womanhood. During the damp and chilly rainy season, the ancestral hall is frigid to the bone, and the biting cold wind seeps through the cracks in the door, stirring my muddled mind into a semblance of clarity. Since everyone perceives her as innocent and benevolent, I shall no longer restrain her, allowing her to act freely so that they may truly experience the consequences of her actions. 1. When Lynn Gooder fell ill with a high fever, I stepped outside to welcome the imperial physician. In that brief moment, my husband's newly acquired concubine, Mu Chun, slipped into Lin Goer's chamber. Upon my return with the physician, Mu Chun approached me, brimming with enthusiasm, eager to take credit for her misguided remedy. It's merely a fever. There's no need to summon a physician from the palace. In my hometown, we simply wipe the body with alcohol when someone has a fever. Just wait and see. Lin Goer's fever will subside shortly. I promptly dismissed her, rushing to Lin Goer's bedside. The little one, whom I had only just managed to lull to sleep, now frowned deeply, his body covered in a rash of tiny red spots. The physician from the palace was taken aback, immediately preparing to administer acupuncture and medication. Meanwhile, Mu Chun continued her incessant chatter, claiming, "This physician from the palace isn't all that skilled, who applies silver needles for a mere fever. My method has been passed down for millennia. Lin Goer will be well soon." In a fit of rage, I dragged her out of the room and struck her across the face, exclaiming, "Lin Goer cannot tolerate alcohol. Do you wish to harm him?" With one side of her face swollen from the slap, Mu Chun looked at me with a mix of grievance and innocence. I didn't know. I only wanted to help. It's just an allergy. It won't kill anyone. Seeing her attempt to defend herself further infuriated me, and I raised my hand again, targeting her other cheek. "You have been in this household for 4 months, and everyone knows Lin Goer cannot have alcohol. How is it that you alone remain ignorant? You brainless fool. What do you know besides causing trouble?" Mu Chun's eyes turned red from the slap, and upon seeing my husband and mother-in-law approach, she quickly hid behind them, tears welling in her eyes. My husband, filled with concern, shielded her. She didn't mean any harm. Her intentions were good. "It's just a minor issue. She is pregnant, so you should address it kindly, rather than resorting to violence." "A minor issue? Do you not realize she offered Lin Goer alcohol? A sickly child and alcohol is not a trivial matter." My husband's expression shifted, and my mother-in-law immediately stepped in to defend him. "In our esteemed household, we have never encountered a case of illness caused by alcohol. If anyone is to blame, it must be your own genetics. Little Chun is kind-hearted and lacks your cunning. I suspect you are simply making things difficult for her because of her pregnancy." Indeed, I had often found myself chastising her. My mother-in-law's words only encouraged my husband to side with her. As they exchanged their harsh judgments, they labeled me as a jealous woman, sentencing me to kneel in the ancestral hall for a prolonged period while transcribing the virtues of women. In the damp, chilly rainy season, the ancestral hall felt like a prison, the biting wind seeping through the cracks and clearing my muddled thoughts. If everyone believes her to be innocent and benevolent, then I shall no longer restrain her. Let her have her freedom, and let them all experience the consequences. 2. Upon my emergence from the ancestral hall, I discovered that Lin Goer's illness was nearly resolved. After escorting the physician out, I passed by the medicinal garden and noticed Mu Chun and her companions uprooting the herbs I had cultivated. "Pull out these weeds. I desire to plant tomatoes. I'm merely a month pregnant and already craving something sour. Surely, it will be a mischievous son." Zhong Xingrui rested his chin upon Mu Chun's shoulder, gazing at her with fondness. "Very well, it seems we have a little glutton on our hands." I kindly interjected, "Those are medicinal herbs, not weeds." Mu Chun paused, her expression shifting to one of feigned innocence. "Oh, I didn't realize, dear husband. Have I made another mistake?" Zhong Xingrui affectionately ruffled her nose. "No matter. Plant whatever you wish. Medicinal herbs are readily available elsewhere." He then turned to me, frowning. "Have you wasted your time transcribing the virtues of women in the ancestral hall? If you continue to target Chana, I suggest you return to the hall and copy it 100 more times. Only when you learn to be more accommodating may you emerge." Truly, it is difficult to reason with a fool. I waved my hand dismissively. My husband was right. These herbs were not of utmost importance, and as long as little Chun was happy, it sufficed. Mu Chun's face brightened instantly. "Wonderful. Once the tomatoes grow, I shall prepare tomato scrambled eggs for you. The sweet and sour flavor will be delightful." And thus, the two exchanged sweet nothings. I, feeling weary, turned away and returned to my quarters, refraining from telling them that the herbs in that garden were painstakingly gathered from the western regions to treat my mother-in-law's heart ailment, something that could not be found in any apothecary. Since marrying into the Duke's residence, I alone managed the household, while Zhong Xingrui remained oblivious to these matters. In his eyes, I was merely a noble lady, sculpted and nurtured from a prominent family. I was shrewd and cautious, while Mu Chun was naive and innocent, a fortunate star capable of foreseeing the future. Their first encounter occurred in a brothel during a time of political turmoil, where the crown prince appeared weak, prompting Zhong Xingrui to secretly meet with the 8th prince, concerned for the crown prince's fate. As they departed, the time-traveling Mu Chun grasped his hand, proclaiming herself a traveler and assuring him that the crown prince would ultimately prevail in the struggle for power. Zhong Xingrui was astonished and immediately whisked her away from the brothel. Following this, several significant events in the capital unfolded as Mu Chun predicted, solidifying Zhong Xingrui's unwavering trust in her, declaring her a divine woman from the heavens. As they spent time together, their affections blossomed, and Zhong Xingrui took her as his mistress. Yet, he only acknowledged Mu Chun's contributions, attributing all successes to her, while remaining oblivious to my father and sister's strategic efforts to elevate the crown prince. Once the crown prince ascended the throne, and the situation was stable, Mu Chun declared the story concluded, heralding an era of prosperity for the Duke's residence. Zhong Xingrui was elated. As the crown prince took the throne, my sister was bestowed the title of imperial concubine, and Zhong Xingrui welcomed Mu Chun into the household as a favored concubine. Initially, my sister was displeased upon learning of this, but I quelled her discontent. Since Mu Chun possessed foreknowledge of future events, it would be advantageous to keep her close. However, despite my meticulous planning, the tide of power shifted unexpectedly, nearly costing me dearly due to Mu Chun. I had assumed she would be a formidable adversary, only to discover, once she entered the household, that she was utterly simple-minded. Aside from knowing a few significant matters concerning the emperor and my sister, she was as foolish as a pig and prone to causing trouble. The anticipated intrigue and scheming never materialized. Instead, I found myself on constant guard against her. For if I let my attention wane, she would invariably stir up trouble. Yet, in the midst of my vigilance, I became the object of jealousy in my husband and mother-in-law's eyes. Years prior, during the upheaval in the court when I gave birth to Lin Guer, I had preterm labor to relay messages to my sister, resulting in injuries that rendered me unable to bear children again. My attempts to manage Mu Chun were branded as jealousy, as if I could not tolerate a concubine. Little did they know that my husband's affections meant nothing to me. I solely aimed to prevent her from causing calamity that would befall the Duke's residence. 3. Upon reflection, I ceased to constrain Mu Chun, merely instructing the servants in the courtyard to maintain their distance from her. Who knows what calamities might arise from associating with a foolish pregnant woman? The servants in Xiang'an courtyard were all trusted confidants I had brought from my family. Upon my command, they kept their distance from Mu Chun, yet she persistently sought to encroach upon them. One day, as I stepped outside, I received word from a maid that Mu Chun had ventured into Lin Guer's private school. I hurried to the scene, and upon arriving at the courtyard entrance, I overheard Mu Chun's voice. "Teacher Yen, I believe your feudal mindset is misguided. What use is it to read ancient poetry every day? As a teacher, you ought to possess great love. Why do you teach only one student for a few coins instead of reaching out to many impoverished scholars? She continued, and Lin Guer, at your age, children are still climbing trees and playing in the mud in our hometown. What good is it to be cooped up at home reading books? This will only lead to you becoming a bookworm. While reading the classics and striving for scholarly achievements is commendable, it is equally essential to embrace the joys of childhood. However, you ought to venture forth and explore, discovering pursuits that resonate with your soul, rather than confining yourself to the drudgery of books day in and day out. As I forcefully pushed open the door, I beheld Master Yen, seething with indignation, his face flushed crimson as he repeatedly exclaimed, "Absurd! Absurd!" Meanwhile, the 3-year-old Ling Guer stood there, clutching a book, his expression one of utter bewilderment as he gazed at Mu Chun. Clenching my fists, I suppressed the fury bubbling within me and gritted my teeth, demanding, "Mu Chun, what nonsense are you spouting here?" "Of course, I am here to assist you in educating Ling Guer. Your methods of teaching children are fundamentally flawed. In this forthcoming era, gender equality shall prevail, and education will no longer be the sole pathway to success. As the saying goes, in every profession, excellence can be achieved. If we celebrate literary scholars, why not also honor those who excel in football, painting, or architecture?" Mu Chun spoke with an air of self-satisfaction, entirely oblivious to the increasingly grimace on my face. To hell with this new era, to hell with the notion of a football champion. In this time, one must adhere to the survival rules of the age. My anger clouded my judgment. While I could tolerate her usual foolishness, Ling Guer was my bottom line. "Get out. From this day forth, you are forbidden to set foot in Xiong'an Courtyard. Stay away from Ling Guer," I warned. "If I see you enter Xiong'an Courtyard again, I shall strike you each time." When Mu Chun caused a ruckus in the private school, admonishing the master and inciting Ling Guer, neither my husband nor my mother-in-law intervened. However, the moment I uttered a few words to her, my husband and mother-in-law rushed in, eager to defend her. "Gu Yun, how could you be so unreasonable? Pure has been helping you with the child, and yet you have the audacity to blame her," my husband exclaimed, stepping protectively in front of Mu Chun and glaring at me. My mother-in-law, arriving shortly after, echoed his sentiments. "Exactly. I observe everything daily, and yet you seem oblivious to the child's education. You cannot even manage one child, while the minister's household successfully raises 6 plump and healthy ones. I dare say it is your incompetence. Perhaps it would be better to let Pure take charge." I let out a cold laugh, fully aware that in the minister's household, there were 4 concubines and 7 secondary wives, leading to a daily chaos. Yes, they had many children, but they were all well-fed. The eldest son, at 9 years old, still wetting his pants, yet my mother-in-law remained blind to this reality. "Since mother has spoken, let her take charge. I shall have more time to educate the child." Upon hearing that she would be in charge, Mu Chun immediately bristled with excitement. "Great. Our elementary school is about to teach arithmetic. Managing a household is a simple task." My mother-in-law, initially taken aback by my decision to step back, quickly regained her composure upon seeing Mu Chun's confidence. "Humph, if you are incapable, then let Pure take over." That very afternoon, I handed over the household management board and account books to Ningyong Courtyard. Mu Chun believed managing a household merely required arithmetic, oblivious to the fact that a duke's household comprises hundreds of servants, not to mention the shops and fields outside, all of which demand careful attention. To maintain this household, I had diligently risen before dawn and toiled late into the night. Now that she sought to assume this burden, I was more than willing. I was curious to see how this foolish girl would manage. After relinquishing control, I promptly instructed my maid to inventory my dowry, ensuring that my assets remained secure from her grasp. Indeed, there was some truth to what Zhong Jingrui had said. I was indeed calculating. From the moment I wed Zhong Jingrui, it had all been part of my design. My sister was married to the crown prince upon reaching maturity, and the Gu family had always aligned with the crown prince's faction. In the capital, many prominent families rallied behind the crown prince. While the 8th prince courted the new officials, there existed an insurmountable chasm between the old families and the new officials, with the crown prince and the 8th prince openly vying for power, while the two factions engaged in a covert struggle. A delicate balance was maintained between the old families and the new officials until my marriage into the Duke's household altered the political landscape. The late Duke, a man of great military accomplishment, had risen from a frontline soldier to a duke in the capital through sheer determination. The Duke's household was among the foremost of the new officials. My union was intended to serve as a bridge between the old aristocracy and the new gentry. For me, this marriage was devoid of emotion, governed solely by interests and calculations. My mother-in-law, from a farming background at the border, had entered this opulent capital and squandered resources extravagantly, incapable of managing the household. By the time I entered the household, she had nearly exhausted the previous emperor's gifts, hastily dumping the mess into my lap. I had diligently cultivated the family's reputation, arising before dawn to inspect the shops, even utilizing my dowry to restore order. Now that she had enjoyed several years of comfort, she had entirely forgotten her roots. Now she sought to place Mu Chun in charge, and I must secure my dowry. The next day, with the management board in hand, Mu Chun gleefully made her way to the accounting room, her first act being to raise the wages of all the servants. She proclaimed people should not be distinguished by status. Anyone who labors deserves commensurate compensation. Otherwise, it is nothing but exploitation, akin to the abhorrent capitalistic system. The Duke's household had substantial monthly income, yet the servants received so little, it was utterly unconscionable. I had once been a weary worker, toiling endlessly with little to show for it. Now that I was in charge, I would ensure that everyone received fair compensation and could enjoy their work. I could not grasp her reasoning, but I knew that with a mere wave of her hand, she had raised the servants' wages to 3 taels. Having been accustomed to extravagance, spending lavishly on the best of everything, she was utterly unaware of how much 3 taels of silver could purchase for the average citizen. At that time, typical servant wages were merely 2 coins of silver. With her sweeping gesture, she multiplied it by 10, resulting in the Duke's household incurring nearly 1,000 taels in additional expenses each month. In an instant, the servants were elated, for this was a small fortune. They praised her profusely, declaring Mu Chun to be benevolent and generous, a celestial being sent from above. Some even applauded, hoping I would be sidelined and never regain authority. The servants' accolades naturally reached the ears of Zhong Jingrui and my mother-in-law, who were both pleased with Mu Chun. Pure has only been in charge for a few days, and the servants rave about her. I believe it is high time you stepped aside, my mother-in-law remarked while adjusting the thick gold bracelet adorning her wrist. Indeed, the disparity between you and Pure remains stark. Zhong Jingrui concurred. Mu Chun affectionately linked arms with my mother-in-law. Please do not speak ill of Sister Gu. She performed admirably in her role, but all she does now is run about aimlessly. It is difficult to see where she excelled. Humph. Our Pure is the best. She is both thrifty and filial. I regarded the 3 of them, bedecked in finery and jewels, their appearances resplendent as the starry sky, non-committal in my judgment. Their excessive adornments did not seem to weigh them down. I was eager to observe how long the Duke's household could sustain such extravagant expenditures. A month later, during the birthday banquet of the Duchess of Anil, Zhong Jingrui took Mu Chun along. With a head adorned in the most opulent ruby headdress, she eagerly approached the Duchess of Anil upon entering the main hall, clasping her hand warmly. Sister Tian, happy birthday. I am Mu Chun from the Duke's household. It is a pleasure to meet you. I have prepared this specially crafted lotus gold hairpin for you. I hope you will like it. Mu Chun blinked her eyes, feigning innocence. Her voice was not particularly low, instantly capturing the attention of everyone in the hall. The golden hairpin glimmered in its ornate box, shimmering amidst the crowd. Nearby, some stifled laughter. Isn't that the concubine from the Duke's household? Quite an unsophisticated creature, daring to refer to the Duchess as a sister. Indeed. How could the Duke's household send such an embarrassing gift? Everyone knew that the Duchess of Anil was a renowned talented woman in the capital, particularly fond of the elegant orchid. Presenting her with such a trinket was nothing short of an affront. Just look at that hairpin. The craftsmanship is so poor that it is quite devalued. Wouldn't he wearing that be a disgrace? The crowd buzzed with whispers, and Mu Chun's face flushed with embarrassment, her neck stiffening as she attempted to defend herself. I think this hairpin is beautiful. It suits the Duchess quite well. Gold has always been a stable currency and will not depreciate. Hiss, Does she imply that the wife of the Marquis is of lowly worth? I suspect that is indeed her meaning. Just look at her headdress, which is larger than her own face. Though rustic, it is undoubtedly superior to that gold hairpin by countless degrees. She is clearly disdainful of the Annal Marquisate. Even the poised and elegant Lady Tian Xianjing of the Annal Marquisate, renowned for her strict upbringing, could not suppress her displeasure. Mu Chun stood helplessly amid the crowd, her eyes reddening, her lips moving, yet no words emerged. In her awkwardness, she suddenly spotted me seated nearby, sipping tea, and immediately confronted me. Sister Gu, what brings you here? Did not my husband say I should attend the Marquis birthday banquet? I let out a cold laugh. I share a handkerchief friendship with the Marquesas, and I am here at the invitation of Xianjing. Why should I not attend? Mu Chun appeared to understand, then glanced around at the others. And when her gaze returned to me, it brimmed with resentment. So it is you, is it not? They are all your sisters. Seeing my husband bringing me to the feast, you could not bear it, and deliberately conspired to have them make things difficult for me, to humiliate me? What does it matter to me? You are the one in charge of the household at the Dingwa-Duke's residence. The gifts were chosen by you, and you represent the Dingwa-Duke at the banquet. How can you lay the blame at my feet? I gently set down my teacup, meeting her gaze with unwavering composure. Mu Chun pointed at me, ready to speak again, but the usually silent Tian Xianjing abruptly interjected. What raucousness is this? Yunu is the matriarch of the Dingwa-Duke's residence. How dare you point fingers here? Calling for her attendants, she commanded, remove this disrespectful concubine from my sight. Two robust matrons seized Mu Chun and began to drag her away. Never having endured such humiliation, she erupted into loud, heart-wrenching sobs. Her cries echoed through the front courtyard, drawing the attention of the male guests. Zhong Jingrui, who had intended to network with a powerful for his future career, found himself the subject of ridicule instead. Upon returning home that evening, he stormed into Ningyong courtyard. Furious, Zhong Jingrui slammed his gold hairpin onto the table. What are you playing at? I instructed you to prepare gifts properly, yet you dare present such a disgraceful item. Do you realize how you have embarrassed me today?
Mu Chun,
Tears streaming down her face, protested. What humiliation. That was pure gold. They simply lacked discernment. Besides, who knew the Annal Marquis was celebrating a birthday banquet? All the funds this month were spent on you and mother for headdresses and silks. Zhong Jingrui, enraged, retorted, You foolish girl. How could I entrust such an important matter to you? He raised his hand, intending to strike her, but, mindful of the child she carried, he ultimately stormed away in frustration. For several consecutive days, Zhong Jingrui ignored Mu Chun, hoping for my company, yet I coldly denied him entry, leaving him no choice but to spend the night alone in the study. A confused maidservant asked me, Madam, why did you send the Duke away? Why not seize this opportunity to grow closer to him and compete with Mu Chun? I glanced at the account books, responding nonchalantly. Competing for affection is the most inferior of strategies. The maidservant seemed to grasp only part of my meaning. I set down my brush and gently tapped her brow. The human heart is most fickle, compared to the mere affection and pity bestowed by a man. The power and wealth in one's own hands are far more reliable. If you have learned to read, use it for something worthwhile. Go to bed early, for tomorrow we shall inspect the shops. My dowry shops were plentiful, and under my diligent management, their business flourished, consuming my day until dinner before I returned home. Upon entering, Zhong Jingrui approached me with an aggressive demeanor. Guyun, did you take the documents from my study? What documents? I replied, feigning confusion. I have been busy overseeing the shops all day. When would I have time for your study? You usually clean my study. Who else could have entered? He accused. Did you notice my recent neglect of you, and are now throwing a tantrum to attract my attention? Enough of this nonsense. Those documents are crucial, so hand them over. I smiled. It was true that I had previously cleaned his study myself, fearing that the servants might misplace important documents. Although Zhong Jingrui lacked talent, he did not possess anything of great importance. Have you lost your memory? The one in charge now is Mu Chun. You should inquire with her. Just then Mu Chun, jingling with jewelry, rushed over to claim credit. Husband, you're back. You've been so busy with affairs of state. How could you continue sleeping in the study?
today,
I personally tidied it for you. You mustn't sleep there anymore. It would break my heart. With her starry-eyed innocence, she tugged at his sleeve, shaking it incessantly, leaving Zhong Jingrui dizzy. You touched my desk. Yes, it was in quite a disarray, so I tidied it up for you. On my desk, there was a letter sent from the frontier. Did you see where it went? What letter? I didn't see anything. Just a piece of paper stamped with the military seal. Your desk was a mess. How could I have noticed? I did clear away all the waste paper. Zhong Jingrui was on the verge of losing his mind. Where did you put it all? I burned it. I left no evidence. I understand some documents must not be seen by others. I disposed of them cleanly. Mu Chun declared triumphantly.
Ah.
Zhong Jingrui's eyes bulged with fury. You foolish woman. Foolish woman. I stifled a smile and kindly reassured him. Do not be angry, husband. Xiao Chun meant well. She is pregnant and has taken on such responsibilities. How can you scold her? Previously, I had prevented Mu Chun from entering the study, fearing she would cause trouble. She had been aggrieved, and somehow, this reached Zhong Jingrui, turning me into the tyrannical matriarch who had even restricted Mu Chun's movements. Heaven knows, I only forbade her from entering the study. What sort of confinement was that? I had explained repeatedly, yet Zhong Jingrui and mother did not believe me, and now he had finally tasted the bitter fruit of his own actions. Zhong Jingrui rolled his eyes in exasperation, while Mu Chun continued to sob nearby, feeling wronged. Husband, how can you speak to me this way? You didn't take care of your things, how should I know? She added, moreover, if it were so important, why didn't you lock the study? It's just a piece of paper, and you scold me so harshly. Ever since returning from the Annal Marquette, you've been ignoring me. I understand now, you must not love me anymore. Mu Chun wailed and made a scene at the door. Hearing this, mother hurried over, and Mu Chun immediately nestled into her embrace, recounting her grievances against Zhong Jingrui. Mother, unable to discern the truth, looked at Mu Chun with pity. Xiao Chun is of the most innocent nature, and her feelings for you are sincere. It was just a piece of waste paper. Let it burn. There's no need for such anger. She continued, she is pregnant and in a delicate state. How can she be subjected to such treatment? I've heard you've been sleeping in the study for several days. A pregnant woman is prone to worry. This will not do.
Tonight.
You should rest in Xiao Chun's courtyard. The two women, each voicing their opinions, left Zhong Jingrui unable to interject a word. Ultimately, he yielded to his mother's authority, not only refraining from anger, but also spending the night in Mu Chun's quarters. Having gained favor from mother, Mu Chun grew bolder, believing she had support, and thus intensified her efforts to curry favor with the matriarch. Daily, she donned new garments and dined on delicacies like bird's nest and abalone. Gold, silver, jewels, and silks poured into their residence, as if they were without cost. Mother's eyes sparkled with delight. She praised Mu Chun to everyone, and within just 2 months, Mu Chun had become quite rotund, her health deteriorating. Zhong Jingrui, under the onslaught of her financial charms, softened his demeanor towards her, and they began to flirt once more. Yet, unbeknownst to him, this reckless extravagance had drained the treasury. Alarmed, Mu Chun rushed to question me. Sister Gu, since the power of the household has been handed over to me, why has your dowry not been deposited into the treasury? I let out a cold laugh. You have stated it yourself. That is my dowry. A woman follows her husband. Thus, your dowry should also belong to the Dingwaduke's residence. Mu Chun wore an expression of naive confusion. I advised my younger sister that it would be wise to devote her leisure time to reading more books. In the kingdom of Daong, a woman's dowry must be registered with the government, as it constitutes her personal property. Unless I willingly consent, no one has the right to appropriate even a fraction of it. Should anyone dare to misappropriate it without permission, they would face severe penalties. I did not express any intention to utilize my sister's dowry. I merely inquired about it. Mu Chun wore an expression of guilt. Having gained nothing from me, Mu Chun turned her attention to entrepreneurial ventures. She extravagantly invested in a bar, only to find that Daong had a curfew. Then she embarked on a skincare line, claiming it would whiten and rejuvenate the skin, yet the product ended up damaging her complexion. These two failed enterprises completely depleted the remaining reserves, leaving the Duke of Dingwa's household financially strained. With daily expenses mounting, she dared not reveal the situation to Zhong Jingrui or her mother-in-law. Thus, she gritted her teeth and endured, knowing that the funds for her mother-in-law and Zhong Jingrui's social engagements could not be diminished. She resorted to lowering the servants' monthly wages and covertly selling off shops and properties to compensate. Due to her negligence in management over the past few months, the shops suffered losses, and the yield from the fertile lands was dismal. The once thriving properties and fields that I managed were now sold at meager prices. As the shops and lands dwindled, the servants' pay was continually slashed. By the time the new year approached, the Duke of Dinggua's assets had significantly diminished, and the servants' monthly wages plummeted to a mere pittance, accompanied by various punitive measures. A slight misstep would result in financial deductions, and the wages they had previously received were now being reclaimed. The disgruntled servants murmured their discontent. At the slightest hint of dissent, she summoned the enforcers to sell them off, instilling a pervasive atmosphere of fear within the household. Finally, as the new year approached, the old matriarch instructed Mu Chun to gild the statue of the Bodhisattva in the family shrine.
Mu Chun reluctantly acquiesced.
The old matriarch, a devout Buddhist, insisted on using gold powder mixed with paint to adorn the statue. In previous years, I had managed these tasks, and knowing that this year Mu Chun was in dire straits filled me with anticipation. At last, the first day of the new year arrived. The old matriarch led the family to the shrine to pay their respects. Upon opening the door, she nearly fainted from rage. I lifted my gaze to the statue. The newly applied inferior paint had cracked, displaying a chaotic array of garish colors resembling a disease-ridden surface. Not only was the statue marred, but the paint dripped from its mouth, evoking the image of a bloodthirsty specter. I had previously heard that Mu Chun, lacking funds, had resorted to using the cheapest and watered-down paint, and the artisan's wages had been severely reduced. I had anticipated a poor outcome from such cost-cutting measures, but I had not expected it to be this atrocious. The old matriarch erupted in a fit of rage inappropriate for her age. "What is the meaning of this?" Mu Chun had bowed, cautiously replied, "I didn't know. I thought it was just a statue. Who would waste gold powder on it? Besides, one must believe in science. These deities do not exist." Zhong Jingrui, exasperated, could hardly utter a word.
"Ah!
You foolish woman! This is a grave disrespect to the Buddha. You wretched creature! You are blaspheming the divine. This will bring calamity upon the Duke of Dinggua's house." The old matriarch, now enraged beyond reason, commanded, "Someone, take this foolish woman and execute her, to appease the spirits." I quickly intervened, "Mother, please. Little Chun has a good heart. She surely did not intend this. Moreover, she carries your precious grandson. How can you treat her so?" The old matriarch pointed a trembling finger at Mu Chun, clutching her chest, struggling to articulate her thoughts. Her breathing grew increasingly labored, and her complexion darkened. Finally, her eyes closed and she collapsed.
"Someone!"
"Mother is having an episode. Hurry and fetch medicine." Zhong Jingrui acted swiftly, supporting the old matriarch. The servants rushed out and soon returned, exclaiming, "My lord, we are out of medicine in the storeroom." "Then go buy some," Zhong Jingrui roared. "It cannot be found. One of the herbs is from the western regions and the apothecaries do not stock it." Of course, it was no longer available. That herb had long been harvested by her beloved son and turned into tomatoes. Chaos ensued among the gathered crowd, and ultimately, the old matriarch passed away in Zhong Jingrui's arms, without any medicine to save her. With the passing of the old matriarch, the rift between Zhong Jingrui and Mu Chun deepened irrevocably. Consumed by hatred for Mu Chun, he stripped her of her managerial authority and forbade her from stepping foot outside the Ningyong courtyard, even denying her attendance at the old matriarch's funeral. On the 6th day following the old matriarch's death, a maid secretly reported that Mu Chun had slipped out to procure medicine. I nodded. Let her go. Provide her with the strongest remedy available. Previously, I had been criticized for preventing her from making foolish decisions, but this time, I not only refrained from intervening but also aided her, eager to see how Zhong Jingrui would handle the situation. Upon Mu Chun's return, I feigned an issue in the accounts office and took the servants with me, leaving the empty morning hall solely in Zhong Jingrui's presence. The following day, before dawn, The household erupted in chaos. The servants in the morning hall were in a panic, claiming that Zhong Jingrui had perished. I immediately rose to investigate, and as I approached the door to the morning hall, I was met with a foul mixture of sweet and pungent odors. Beneath the old matriarch's spirit tablet, Zhong Jingrui lay disheveled on the mat, his front stained with dark, dried blood, his complexion as pale as parchment, and his lips tinged with a bluish hue. Mu Chun was no better off. Her face was ashen as she curled in the shadows of the curtains, blood pooling beneath her legs, her limbs convulsing as she muttered, "It wasn't me, I didn't know." The physician examined Zhong Jingrui and, with great difficulty, stated, "The Duke has consumed an excessive amount of potent aphrodisiac and has succumbed to debauchery. Lady Mu, having overindulged, has lost the child as well. Investigate the circumstances," I instructed calmly. Soon, a servant emerged to testify that Mu Chun had secretly slipped out the previous day and returned with something. The guard stationed in the morning hall confirmed that after I had left, Mu Chun had entered alone to meet Zhong Jingrui. The family members of the Zhong clan attending the funeral shook their heads in disbelief. To engage in such scandalous behavior in the presence of their mother's spirit, resulting in death, was not merely embarrassing, it was utterly outrageous and unprecedented. Seeing the Zhong family members floundering like headless flies, I pretended to wipe non-existent tears from my eyes. "Uncle, aunts, please save the Duke of Dinggua's house. My husband and Mu Chun have behaved thoughtlessly, causing this disgraceful incident. The current emperor governs with filial piety. Should this matter reach the imperial ears, it is not merely a shameful affair, but I fear it may lead to the complete ruin of the Duke of Dinggua's family and future." My words were delivered with gravity, and since the Zhong family hailed from the countryside, they immediately grew agitated upon hearing my warning. "What shall we do? Yuna, you are a noble young lady. Think of a way. We cannot allow the Zhong family to be ruined by them. Indeed, we have only just made our way from the frontier into the capital. What shall we do?" The crowd clamored, their sole focus on self-preservation, completely disregarding the two sprawled on the ground. I dramatically wiped my eyes with my sleeve, the fabric grazing my eyelids, causing a sharp sting, and my eyes reddened as I choked on my words. What can a mere woman like me do? Thankfully, it is only our family present. Otherwise, if this matter were to come to light, I would have no choice but to end my life in despair. I feigned to move toward the pillar, but the second aunt of the Zhong family swiftly blocked me. "You must not. The Zhong family still relies on you and Ling Ge. I leaned into the second aunt's embrace, sobbing uncontrollably. "Elder brother, you must think of a solution. The Duke of Dinggua's house cannot fall." The second aunt comforted me while urging with urgency. Yes, we are the only ones who know." The Zhong family members, awakening from their stupor, hastily devised a plan. After a flurry of chaotic discussions, the Zhong family managed to keep the incident under wraps, publicly stating that Zhong Jingrui, heartbroken over his mother's death, had succumbed to grief and followed her in death, while Mu Chun had also taken her own life alongside her husband. Thus, the Duke of Dinggua's house was left with only me and Ling Ge as its masters. Without the pests and fools of the Zhong family, the Duke of Dinggua's household flourished under my management. During the spring festival, I took Ling Ge with me to the palace to celebrate with my sister.
Now,
My sister has ascended to the esteemed position of imperial noble consort, elegantly reclining upon her consort's couch, her smile enchanting. This is indeed a blessing. For among the two of us, you have found your liberation. The entire Duke Dinggua's residence is now under your command, and I hope you will find time to visit me more often in the future. Nestling into my sister's embrace, I replied, "Certainly." At the royal banquet, His Majesty commended my fidelity to my husband, bestowing upon me the title of Lady of Distinction and a reward of 10,000 taels of gold. After receiving the imperial decree, I lifted my gaze to share a knowing smile with my sister. I am now the most esteemed lady of the Duke Dinggua's household, free from the obligations of serving my husband and in-laws, possessing both wealth and leisure. From this moment forth, I shall indulge in pursuits that bring me joy. The end of the tale. I appreciate your attention, and I look forward to our next story together.